Welcome back for another episode of the Sports Playbook. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy the show. If you're a regular, you know the drill. I'll be giving you a breakdown of what's been happening in the world of sports over the last 7 days. You're joined by your host, Demoted. In today's show, we'll be talking about the key stories in AFL, NRL, winter sports, cricket, and basketball. We will dive into the world of motorsport in the Burning Rubber breakdown, provide a fast fact for your pub chat, and some sport I'm looking forward to this weekend. With that, let's get right into it. In the AFL, West Coast fans and Puma back Harley Reid in a cheeky display. For those that don't know, Harley Reid is a 19-year-old. He plays for the West Coast Eagles and he is the number 1 draft pick for the West Coast Eagles back in 2023. Last weekend though, he flipped the bird to a fan at the Gabba, which the AFL fined him $1,000 for. On the weekend, in the Battle of the West Derby, which is the Fremantle Dockers versus the West Coast Eagles, the West Coast fans decide to join in, backing their number 1 draft pick by displaying multiple middle fingers in the crowd. Puma, who also sponsors Reid, decided to get in on the act. They announced that they had signed Reid for a further 6 years and declaring that we've got your back. They displayed this by doing a social media video with Puma showing 2 hands, counting to 6. You can guess what was on the other finger. The Dockers, though, proved far too strong in this game, beating the Eagles 106-68. In the NRL, all head-high tackles in round 5 to be sin-binned after the new rulings. The NRL have sent a notice to all 17 clubs that from round 5, which is the next round, any head-high tackles will be automatically sin-binned for the offender. It comes as there are a spate of head-high tackles from round 4, with at least 4 notable incidents being sent to the NRL judiciary. If the NRL actually want to get serious about head knocks, this is a necessary call for them to make. However, being in a contact sport, mistakes do happen, so it'll be really interesting to see how the NRL police this. In Rugby 7's, the Aussies finished with a silver and bronze medal in the Hong Kong Rugby 7's tournament. The women's team made it all the way to the finals, going down to New Zealand 26-19. Maddie Levi had an amazing tournament, scoring 14 tries over the weekend, including 2 in the final. The 22-year-old has set a new Australian rugby record, scoring the most tries in rugby history. She overtook her teammate Charlotte Caslick. Levi finished the tournament with 196 tries to her name, which is now 10 in front of her teammate Caslick. For the men's side, they beat Fiji in the bronze medal match 22-21, with Sid Harvey scoring the final try after the siren. The next tournament is in Singapore starting from the 5th of April. In winter sports, Scotty James takes home his 4th world title at the World Championships. The 30-year-old Melburnian scored 89.5 on both runs before a fantastic final run that earned him the score of 95.00 to take home the gold in St. Moritz, Switzerland. Danielle Scott also scored a bronze for Australia in the women's aerials. Cam Bolton and Mia Cliff also took home the silver in the snowboard mixed team final, with Australia coming away with 4 medals in the World Championships. South Australia have won their first Sheffield Shield title in 29 years. Up against Queensland, South Australia had to chase 270 in the final innings to defeat Queensland. Alex Carey scored an impressive 105 runs, but Jason Sanger guided the South Australians with 126 not out in an impressive display. South Australia now both hold the Shield and the one-day trophy for the first time in the same season. Jason Sanger, who was born in Sydney originally, was told by New South Wales the season earlier that his services were no longer required. But post-match, Sanger said, "I thought my career was over. South Australia gave me a second chance and I owe them everything. They really saved my career." First-year coach Ryan Harris, who is a former Australian fast bowler, said post-match This is not a once-off thing in regards to South Australia winning more silverware in the future. In the IPL, Mitch Starc takes a 5-wicket haul. Starc took 5 for 35 to help guide the Delhi Capitals to a 7-wicket win over the Sunrisers Hyderabad. One of those wickets was his teammate from Australia, Travis Head. Pat Cummins, who is the captain of Hyderabad, failed to take a wicket during this match. In basketball, Josh Giddey hits a half-court buzzer beater shot to win a thrilling game. Against the LA Lakers, Giddey showed his calmness and poise and came through with a clutch performance. The Bulls were down 115 to 110 with 12 seconds left. Giddey made a steal off LeBron and passed to his teammate Kobe White to get them in front by 1 point. With 3 seconds to go, the Lakers hit the front 117 to 116. Giddey steps up. Sprinting down court, Giddey shoots from halfway with 0.8 seconds left on the clock, and he nailed it. The United Centre erupted and Josh Giddey nailed the shot. The Bulls won 119 to 117. Josh also got his 5th double-double of the season. That is the second most in franchise history, behind Michael Jordan, who got 15 in a season. Also in basketball, 7 ejected in the Timberwolves Pistons fight. In the second quarter, the Detroit Pistons were up 39 to 29. After multiple off-the-ball scuffles, the brawl kicked off and even the coaches got involved. The incident broke out over the baseline and the ESPN camera crew and fans were caught up in this brawl. Detroit even lost their head coach from this brawl, along with 3 other players. The Timberwolves lost 2 players plus their assistant coach. It's not the first time though that the Pistons have been caught up in a scuffle like this. Some may know, but some might not know. Back in 2004, there was the infamous Malice in the Palace brawl that took place. Even Netflix made a special documentary detailing the highlights of this. And with that, we will take a short break and get into the week that was in motorsport with the Burning Rubber Breakdown. It's time for the Burning Rubber Breakdown. Let's burn it up. In F1 news, Lawson is out of Red Bull Racing after only 2 races. Late last week, Red Bull Racing confirmed they have dropped Lawson back to his former team at the Racing Bulls. However, Yuki Tsunoda from the Racing Bulls will step up to the second seat at Red Bull Racing. For Yuki, his first home race will be in front of his home fans at the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. For Yuki, it's his last chance to prove to Red Bull Racing that he deserves to stay in the second seat at Red Bull Racing after Honda leave Red Bull at the end of the 2025 season. Tsunoda has been affiliated with the Honda manufacturer since he debuted back in 2021. As of 2026, Red Bull will have Ford engines powering their car, but for Honda, they will take their engines to Aston Martin for 2026. For Lawson, it's a chance to reset after a terrible start. He has 13 race starts to his name, and he'll be looking to bounce back from the get-go. This change, though, has rumoured to cause a stir in the Max Verstappen camp, with Max Verstappen being quite unhappy that the team has made quite a drastic change only 2 races into the new season. The reports are getting louder that he might consider leaving Red Bull Racing at the end of 2025 to either go to Mercedes or Aston Martin. If there was a choice, I think he might go for Mercedes. I think Toto really wants him to be part of that Mercedes outfit. That is your Burning Rubber Breakdown for the week. And with that, let's get right into your fast fact for a pub chat. It's time to pull yourself a chair, pour yourself a drink. It is time for your fast fact for a pub chat. This week's fast fact is dedicated to baseball and in particular, Babe Ruth. Did you know that Babe Ruth was known to wear a chilled cabbage leaf underneath his baseball cap? He wore it under his cap during games to help him stay cool. It was apparently a practice that he tried to introduce to his teammates as well. He would change that cabbage leaf every 2 innings. Maybe this is something that the NRL players should think about doing to keep their cool on the field. That is your fast fact for a pub chat. And now we will get into the 3 sports I'm looking forward to this weekend. Formula 1 is back. The Japanese Grand Prix is from the 4th to the 6th of April. With it being Honda's home race, I would expect both Red Bull cars to run a tribute livery for Honda. Yuki Tsunoda will take that Red Bull seat. Will he push that team forward in the constructors? Will Lawson fight back and show displays of him with his old performance back at the Racing Bulls last year? It'll be an interesting race to see if McLaren also dominate from the get-go like they have in the 2025 season. Netball is back. The Suncorp Super Netball season kicks off this weekend, with action starting from the 5th of April with the 2024 Grand Final rematch. It's the Adelaide Thunderbirds taking on the Melbourne Vixens. But who will get the upper hand early in the season? We also have the West Coast Fever taking on the New South Wales Swifts. For the Swifts, they have a new shooting circle with Grace Nowicki and Helen Housby, but they will also have Verity Simmons returning from her sabbatical from AFLW to go up against her former team at the West Coast Fever that she left in 2023. And finally, the Matildas play South Korea in a 2-match series. The first game is Friday the 4th of April at Allianz Stadium in Sydney, and the second match on Monday the 7th of April in Newcastle. For the Matildas, it's a chance to go again after a disappointing She Believes Cup campaign. Sam Kerr won't be playing, however, she will be returning with her teammates into the camp, which is really exciting for Matildas fans. Midfielder Katrina Gorry is also out of this series due to an injury. Steph Catley will continue to skipper the squad during this series. And with that, we've come to the end of today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you on the next play. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sports Playbook. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please subscribe to the Sports Playbook wherever you get your podcast and share it with a friend who also might find it enjoyable. Thank you.